So law was one of the choices, but it wasn't the choice.
Oh, it was like that option.
Yeah, it was one of the choices, but
Marine
it wasn't.
biology here. Then what else?
Then I think there was something, I can't remember.
Journalism, no?
No, not journalism.
Okay.
Writing.
Oh, writing.
Writing was just right.
Was there like an option for writing?
That could have been journalism.
Oh, I see.
But then at that particular point, there was a lot of stereotype, and a little bit still is. Like, you want to be a journalist? Don't send your child for journalism.
That is for both gender or just ladies?
Just ladies mostly. Just ladies mostly.
If they want a story, they have to become the story.
They have to become the story. So there's a lot of stereotype then, much more than it is today.
Yeah.
But I remember those law, but then it wasn't the first choice.
Yeah.
So then, but luckily my parents stuck with it. And the next year, I joined law school in Moi University.
I see. That is Eldoret.
That is Eldoret, yeah. So my first time out of Kisumu. Yeah, born, bred, everything.
Yeah.
Kisumu and Nyanza. So my first time in Eldoret.
Yeah.
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 And the first year was hazy. I think the first year was really hazy. I balanced my life a lot.
Then you met those who don't balance.
I balanced my life. I think that was the first time for me. I was all alone and I was away, and you have that independence,
freedom.
Yeah, the independence and the freedom, and so the first year, I think it was just familiarizing myself with life, if I'd say, as a young adult, but I still enjoyed it. I still got to enjoy law as well, bits of it. The others that were still, given that it wasn't like a first choice, something that I felt I needed to acclimatize much more and for longer on certain aspects.
Yeah.
But eventually, within that period, the 4 years, it went well. I liked Law of the Sea. There was something that was called Law of the Sea.
That is now from second year you become more unbalanced.
Yeah, and second year now I become more unbalanced. I find myself.
There's only one focus here because I understand also law. You read a lot.
Yes,
there's so much literature. There's so much research.
Yeah,
lot of library visits.
Yes, lots of library visits, and now it depends on how much effort you put. Though I'd honestly say the first 2 years in college are more of life learning. I think for me, I did more of my academic learning. Not that I wasn't doing it, but I felt I immersed myself more in my academic learning third year and my fourth year.
Okay.
Yeah. So some of the top subjects or courses I liked: Law of the Sea. I liked constitutional law. I liked critical thinking. I liked legal writing. And
those were units.
Yes, they were units.
Okay.
Communication as well. And looking back, I feel that even then, perhaps it would have been beneficial to have some guidance on your areas of interest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that, just like we said with the other co-curricular activities in high school, then you can still do that within academics.
Yeah.
So that it is later on when now I started working within the constitutional issues or within the governance and human rights, that now I could relate with my interest in constitutional law way back in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the legal writing. I mean,
what is legal writing?
Legal writing.
Yeah.
Just like you wrote you mentioned in the material you read out the introduction. There's the legalese of it.
Oh, the legal is it like what the prosecutors do while the court is being what was the name of those guys who write
the court clerk?
The clerk. What they do with when you bring your case, now they have to write the material so that it's palatable to
Yes, that's part of it. But then you see our legal systems and our legal, there's the Latin, there's the technical
You
language.
guys write in Latin.
There's a Latin aspect of it.
So the more Latin you can sound, the more intelligent you are in court, right?
Well, we are a generally learned community.
Okay.
So then given to many languages and given to many, So, but the whole aspect, which is something that is still learned now at the Kenya School of Law, is how you are able to express yourself, communicate verbally or not verbally, but in writing, in a manner that is brief, is concise, and that can be understood for the people you are writing to or the people you are writing for. Because then most times you have the way we make fun of doctors. The way
they can only read from each other. But I think that has changed over time.
Yeah, that's changing over
time. Now I can read my doctor's prescription. So before, the more... But it's true. I think even engineers don't write so well.
So it's finding a way of simplifying the legalese and the legal talk, where you have someone writing all material and it has therefore, therein, aware of, it's like that. So those were some of the courses that I really liked. And looking back, now you start working and then you get to mesh, your interest from before and what you're learning then. So I finish high school, I finish uni,
college,
and I graduate and get to law school. And law school,
Kenya School of Law.
Yes, Kenya School of Law.
So that's one thing I need to ask. So what you do in the college, what is that? Is it like a prep for the Kenya School of Law? Because you spend 2 years at Kenya School of Law?
Kenya School.
And I hear it's really, really tough.
Yes, it's
and
really,
there's only
really
one in Kenya?
Yes, there's only one in Kenya. So that the education and the practice and procedures and all that is harmonized and standardized. So that you don't have people graduating and being admitted to the bar with different ways of practicing law.
Yes.
So then, it's very tough. And we were the first lot, or rather my lot was the first one to do the 2 years. Or rather a
before
year and a half.
People used to do?
Before, it started out at people being exempted. If you've done law school, they were exempted. Then it went to 3 months, I think, then 6 months, then 9 months. So it just kept,
So you could skip from high school direct to the Kenya School of Law?
Not high school, uni. Once you're done, back then, from what I'm told or from what I hear, back then, if you'd graduated from
degree,
law school, a degree. Then
you exempted.
So
you just graduate and get...
and then you get admitted to the bar.
Okay.
But then now for our lot, we were the first lot, I think, to do by then ours was 18 months, so that you have 1 year in class and then 6 months doing pupillage. And pupillage now is where you study, if I could use that word, under the tutelage of someone who's been in practice much longer. The idea of it is to give you the practical of the practicals of practice. Okay. But then one of the improvements that were made now, that were done now from law school, is where you have simulations, where now you have oral exams, and then to prepare you basically how you're going to how to present yourself. Okay. The etiquette, how do you address the court, and then now when you start doing pupillage, then you get the practical. If you have a good pupil master, then this is a person who can nurture you into being a proper
a senior counsel.
A proper advocate, so to speak, so that you go with this person to court and you're able to see how he or she addresses the court, how do they draft their plaints, how does he or she relate with other lawyers, just tells you gives you the ropes of practice, the legal practice as it is.
Nice. So you do your pupillage, okay, even before you go to pupillage, so you go to Kenya School of Law.
Yes.
maybe first year, which is more in class. So do you meet all these other brilliant lawyers across the country?
Of course, yes.
And then you realize balanced life is no longer even balanced. You need more. You need more than that. Yeah.
You need more than that. And the good thing, I think, it's also a way of exposure. Where you have you meet your peers.
Yes.
But then you realize there's more to life. There's more to what you're pursuing.
Yeah.
There are those from Nairobi University, other colleges outside the country.
The University of Nairobi.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. So then, you realize
Cambridge,
and,
And I hear there are people who go out there and even Columbia University, and when they want to practice here, they have to go through the Kenya School of Law?
Yeah, you've got to go through the Kenya School.
So that's different level of knowledge.
Yes.
Okay.
To get that certification for you now to be able to represent clients in court, because without that, then you're a lawyer.
Okay.
Now, Kenya School of Law and being admitted to the bar now gives you, or rather makes you now an advocate of the High Court.
Okay. Yeah. And that's big.
It is big. Because
you can't actually represent someone if you're not an advocate of... Okay. I see. I know in town there are a lot of people drafting, they're called what, affidavits. Those are the ones who decided, okay, we want to be pirates. Is that the case?
They say to each their own. I mean, each market has its people.
Yeah.
Each market has its sub-industry someplace.
Yeah. So you finished the pupillage? No, the
pupillage. Yes.
So you finished your pupillage and now you are admitted.
Yes. Then you get admitted to the bar as an advocate of the and then from then, now you can either continue with working where you are or serving where you are.
You're already working?
No, I wasn't working, but it was paid internship, if I could say that. Or paid.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, there even you don't call these things internship.
No,
it's pupillage. Okay.
Okay,
that's a new one.
It's now for the other courses.
Okay. Oh, internship is for the rest of the unlearned fellas. Okay.
But yeah, it's more like that. It's more like that. So you can choose to continue serving with the master you had in for whatever number of years.
Yeah.
Or you can pursue another path, and which is what I did.
Okay.
Yeah. During my Kenya School of Law and PhD period, I felt there was a lot of routine for me. There was a lot of routine. I didn't get so much diversity of issues. Yeah. And also knowing myself, I don't do so well with routine. And so I felt that space wasn't mine in terms of corporate practice or conveyancing, So the good thing with law also, it gives you an opportunity. It's as diverse as it comes, and that is why they say learned.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, how do you decide, lawyers are the learned friends and the rest of the people?
Yeah.
I don't know. Should we call them unlearned or something?
No, they are.
What is the history of learned friend?
Well, you see, for an engineer knows engineering. A doctor knows medicine. A teacher knows to teach. A driver knows. But if you have a problem, or you've been sued or there's an issue, you'll need a lawyer. And a lawyer can represent an engineer. A lawyer can represent a doctor.
I see.
A lawyer can represent anyone. Yeah. So that requires you to know where you find the law and learn the other disciplines as diverse.
You said the lawyer can represent engineers, and I remember they just concluded IEBC versus the opposition.
Yeah.
The current opposition right now, Azimio team. And they brought the evidence with a canter. A canter is like a six-wheel kind of a Rory type of car. And at the end of it all, it was declared hot air and,
wow.
So, and even by the way, to be honest and to be fair to the teams that actually represented the Azimio side, when I was listening to such claims, to be honest, didn't make sense, technically, right? So, and this is pertinent because I need to ask this as an interjection. Is it about time that maybe older or senior counsel gave way to the more maybe younger lawyers or advocates, because with technology it changes every day, and sometimes you might assume such the substance of how it works, and then even when you present, sometimes it doesn't make sense. What's your take? Because even here we are talking about the age gap, right?
Yeah.
Do you think we had more older guys actually representing?
Well, there are two aspects to it. There's one, the first being, and there's a difference. There's the content of the case.
Yeah.
And there's the capacity of the advocate or lawyer presenting it. So I think those are two different aspects, because sometimes a case can be what it is. Yeah. Evidence can be what it is. That does not make you a bad lawyer.
Yes.
Or an old lawyer.
Yes.
Or a young lawyer. The case is just what it is. It's either good and it's presented by an older advocate that does well. It's either terrible. The evidence does not add up or match up, and it's presented by a young person. So those are two distinct things. There's the case for what it is, and then there's the competence and the capacity of the advocate, and of which I believe by the time one is a senior counsel, I think they have years and years what it takes to have that name, and what it takes to appear before the court as a senior counsel.
Yeah. You have explained it so well, but I still have some more question around this. Is it about the experience? Or is it about the know? Because now you say there's content and there's the capacity of the represent. Or it's just that even if I'm a lawyer, because I hear if the lawyer loses, lawyer wins, they still get paid.
Yeah.
So either way, they did their part, and maybe they formed jury. Yeah, so they contribute in one or the other. So nevertheless, they're okay.
Yes, it's offering your services as best as you can. As best.
So
as
a lawyer could know straight up you're going to lose this, but still tell you, okay, let's go to court.
No, not exactly. Not those are some of the reasons why we are demonized on the streets.
Yeah.
But I'd say again, you're required to represent your client the best of your ability, as best as you can. Present all the evidence required. Prepare your clients in the event that they're going to be cross-examined. Ensure that the advocates on the other side of the case are also well prepared. You've prepared all your documentation, and I don't see how different it is really from the other sensitive professions, including like medicine, or with doctors, because you wouldn't take a patient to hospital and then the doctor just says, I can't touch you and I can't treat you because you are going to die.
Yes.
Like 5 minutes. They are still.
But at some point they tell you, we have tried.
We have tried our best. Yeah. And it's the same way with the legal practice, I believe, where you've seen the case, you've presented all the evidence, and you leave it to the judges to decide. And then now the judges, after seeing receiving all the evidence, going through it, it's at their discretion. They make a decision based on the law, and they say, based on the evidence given and given the law that have looked into, this is the decision.
Yes. Now I have to ask this now that we're talking about lawyers, because I think if we proceed, I might not be able to ask it the right way.
Yeah.
So the reason even we're telling African stories is because we believe there are two major problems in Africa. One is corruption, the other one is poverty, and one leads to the other, right? So do you think lawyers are corrupt? Or do you believe, or have you seen these firsthand as a lawyer or as an advocate of the court?
I don't think corruption is profession-based. It's practiced by people. So anyone can be corrupt and anyone can choose to uphold integrity. There are two sides to it. So if you are lawyer in this instance, and integrity is not one of your values,
So you will be corrupt.
then you will be corrupt.
Okay.
If you are an aerospace engineer and integrity is one of your values, then you're going to choose to be you're going to choose to uphold the rule of law and not take bribes to get services.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But you've just sounded sounded like a learned friend there. But it's all right. So and what do you think we can do to maybe, manage this corrupt? Because I want you to put yourself in a certain shoe that I have a legit, maybe injustice has been done to me and it's legit. But because I can't afford a lawyer, that means I can pay a lot of money, or they want, they're not well connected to get my case through the right process. And by the way, this, I don't know if you've ever heard of this. Most of the people who are jailed are innocent people. Criminals are out here. You've heard of that several times, right? How can we do it so that at least people can restore the confidence in justice systems, in law, in judiciary, in the whole process? Because I think that's a very key pillar in aspect of all sides of economy. And even our children and our children's children, if they can't believe there is justice being done. Right now, you ask someone when they're wrong, they don't want to go to report it, because at the end of the day, what happens? You start with the police, they want some bribes, or they want fuel for the car. Then you go to maybe a lawyer. You can't afford a lawyer. Or maybe if you can afford a lawyer, they don't have enough connection, or they don't have the money maybe to bribe for you to get to be heard even faster, right? You go to the judicial. If you don't have enough money, you spend 5 years waiting for your case to be heard. So you find the whole process itself is corrupt. Even before your case is heard, maybe it's too late if you think about it. So from your experience, do you think something could be done systematically so that at least we manage? Because I know sometimes saying eradicating corruption is just a true lie. Yeah.
Not that we can't eradicate, but I agree with you. There are certain steps that we can take to address the issue of corruption and to strengthen our institutions. But to answer your question, because it seems very loaded and it has a number of facets to it. First is the interconnectedness between institutions.
Yes.
Because take, for instance, the corruption cases, where one of the things that the public complains about, and they say that perhaps the judiciary and the lawyers are the weakest link.
Point, yeah.
And yet, by the time a case gets to the judiciary, it has passed through various other institutions.
Yes.
And one thing that has been emphasized, especially by those within the legal fraternity and even within the judiciary, is that a judge or the courts works with the evidence presented to it. And the judges do not go out to investigate and compile evidence.
Yes.
So then it starts right from the investigative officers or the investigative agencies. Then you have the arresting agencies. You have, it's a whole chain.
Yes.
So by the time a case is presented to the judiciary on corruption, and then there isn't enough evidence that was collected at the investigatory period, then there's very little that a judge can do.
True.
Because on the other hand, we also have to stay true to the rule of law and to the rights of the accused as well.
Yeah.
Like we always say, that someone you're considered by law, you're considered innocent until proven guilty. And our laws and even our constitution has the rights of accused person. The right to be heard, the right for what evidence is being presented against you.
Yeah.
And so it is this evidence that the judiciary is going to focus on.
Yeah.
So if the evidence that comes to the judiciary is not enough to convict an individual accused of corruption, then we are going to continue seeing the kind of cases and what's the word I'm looking for? Unhappiness, I could use that one, with the way corruption is dealt with at the institutional.
Yeah.
So to address that, then it requires more synergy. It requires more collaboration between all these anti-corruption institutions,
Yeah.
right from investigations to prosecutions to judicial to now the prisons department, if one is there.
Yeah.
But then now to address the beyond the institutional aspects, now to address because I think it's a culture issue, to address the culture of corruption within and amongst us, then that goes back to our value system.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of messaging do we have, say, for the younger generation on matters corruption?
Yes.
To begin with,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
is it something we have accepted?
Yeah.
As though
And normalized.
and normalized as though it is a way of life. Because there are instances where you can know your rights. You find someone who's gone to take, for instance, you're on the road, and I think this would be a better example. You know very well your car is not roadworthy. And you have not perhaps renewed your driving license, but then you're on the road.
Yeah.
And you know very well at some particular point you're going to meet a cop. But then you're very willing to go against the law and give a bribe and offer a bribe. But then you do not see that as corruption from your end. What is demonized is the police officer taking the corruption. Yeah? But it's true. It's true. So
you have said too many important points here that I think I should reiterate. So one is that we need to address it intentionally from the young age that, this is the way, actually understand the law, right? Because to be honest with you, there are young guys who ask themselves, why should I read the Constitution? And by the way, it's a legit question to ask because, number one, why? Right? Number one, it will not get me employment if I'm looking for employment. It will not add any value in my life. But if they understand that understanding the law actually empowers you to understand when you're wrong and when you're not wrong. And I will give you case in point. Sometimes cops arrest you with nothing actually that happened. They just profile you like, this guy looks good to be arrested. Because anyway, maybe he might bribe us. That's number one. So they need that education to understand from the young age. And I think also corruption is something else that can be addressed from that young age. And I remember when I was, when I completed high school, we spent like 2 years at home. And I was asking myself pertinent questions because I was so passionate to change. I'm still passionate to change Africa and, starting with my own country, Kenya. And one of the things that I wanted to do then, even voluntarily, is to go to each school and talk about corruption. And here I am. I still think it's valid because we talk corruption when people are already old. And as they say, it's really hard to shape people who already have grown. Yeah, Waswahili husema nini? What do they say about mti mkunje ukuwa mchanga? Right? If you don't, then it's really hard to shape their thoughts when they're already adults. Yeah. So that's very, very valid. And I think, that's something that we can implement if we want. Then another point that I think also people consider, I don't know, I will speak my mind. So if a cop arrests you, case in point where you are traffic offense. So someone makes quick calculations. So I'm not bribing this cop. And they make it actually, I don't know if it's systematic or otherwise. Someone can help us understand. So when you get arrested, number one, there's time involved. Number two, if you're taken to court, what happens? Your case is mentioned and there's bail. What do you spend? Money. Because bail is money. Otherwise, you are impeded. There are all these processes. Maybe you are taken to jail or your car is impeded there. And you know how they handle people's property, right? Then when you do all those calculations, and I think there was this proposal back, I think in 2010 through 2017, that why can't we have instant fines? Very clear offense, very clear fines, and you get receipt for it. Right now, actually people settled on the bail. So you can get arrested and get the bail from the cop and proceed and go to case later. But the process is the same. Where your case will be mentioned, get the bail, which you spend money twice, right? or, there is a way they balance that bail. So if you look at that process itself, it's bias. Bias towards, not to favor who? The offender. I'm not saying the offender should be favored, but that process could be streamlined in a way that you find that actually following the law is fruitful. Following the law is something that I can appreciate. Right now, following the law means trouble, more and more trouble for you, and more expensive. So you find people find the easy way is just to